isn't your typical motorsports podcast. You're listening to Crush This, a monster truck podcast presented by High Octane Coffee and J Concepts. A show where we take you inside the minds of your favorite drivers, past and present, of the monster truck industry. And now, your hosts, Brad Shaw and Dan Chichagash. Buckle in. The show starts now.
And welcome to a brand new episode of Crush This Monster Truck. Wait a second. That's not Cheech.
No, it is not. It is not. Little surprise here. It's little peek behind the curtain. Cheech is currently on his way to a display, and I got asked by my good friend Brad Shaw here if I could join in. We usually do the NHRA show, but why not something new here? I've always been a fan of monster trucks, and I think today would be pretty fun.
Yeah, well, I am the monster truck conductor, Brad Shaw. That right there is Dalton James Hastings, Mr. Avenger 2 on YouTube as well. Cheech is on his way to a display in Pennsylvania. We tried, the last week we had Devin Jones on. Cheech was heading to Des Moines, Iowa. Didn't go the way that, we wanted it to with his internet and stuff like that. So we just kind of decided, let's just see where it goes tonight. I was going to do this alone. Then last minute, it was like, Dalton, what are you doing? He's like, nothing. He's like,
literally, I was just playing my game. I had nothing to do. And then I got a text on my phone, said, what are you doing? And plugged in my equipment. Lo and behold, I'm here now. So I figured why not do something?
Yep. So, it's going to be a good episode. I just want to give thanks to the people that support us, Joey Sylvester and High Octane Coffee, J Concepts, Jason Ruin, and Fred Weep. If you're into RC stuff, go check out what they're doing. Back Channel Productions with Nick Davis, 6B Apparel. I don't have my crew shirt on, but hey, some of the best, softest stuff in the game. Marty Garza in his book, Monster Truck Technology. JB Scale Graphics, the only RC graphics supplier of Bigfoot. Let me see. I'm going to get all right. Bigfoot, Against the Grain, Overkill Evolution, Bad Habit, and
you're getting there.
Another team. I can't remember. Cheech remembers. Cheech is the RC guy.
Honestly, I'm not even. I love JB. I love all the stuff that they got, but I can't remember any of that stuff.
But let's get to our interview, guys. Our guest tonight is former driver in Monster Jam. He drove the Max D truck in the Triple Threat series for quite a while. Kind of filled in here and there over the last few years. He was last driving one of Michael Harper's trucks. Let's bring him in, Mr. Jared Eichelberger. How's it going, Jared?
Good. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
Not too bad. So let's start from the beginning. Most people kind of know about your history of getting in monster trucks and Monster Jam, through Tom. But talk how did everything kind of happen? We talked to your brother on the audio stuff quite a while ago. I'm trying to remember that episode. It's been so long. But let's talk about, your journey into getting behind the seat. You were his crewman in Gravedigger for a while until you guys both switched over to running with your dad. But how did everything kind of happen?
Yeah, pretty much just like you said. There after high school, I didn't really have a choice. My mother's like, "You're going to college. You're going to get your degree." So I ended up going to college first. And when I graduated college, it happened to be Colton was graduating high school, right around the same type of time, and he was getting ready to. Let's see how that goes. Yeah, I got asked by Tom. Was like, "Hey, you looking for a new job?" Yeah, I could possibly come turn wrenches for me. Come turn wrenches. So I could probably do that. What's it pay? $30,000. $30,000 a year. I was like, well, that's a big pay cut, but all right, I can get my foot in the door and go have some fun, see the world. So that's where it started. $30,000, turning wrenches, traveling the world. I was on my dad's team first year. Brandon Lambert Beaver was his crew chief, and Wes Kosmeyer was on the crew as well. And first show was Houston. I'll never forget it. And actually, it's funny, I just remember that show. I've done so many different shows all over the world, but I remember meeting Philip Norman down there.
Oh,
Oh, God.
that character.
Anytime when you're around the Norman brothers, you're ready for a fun time.
Oh, he had this long hair, and I remember I didn't know what the heck I was doing. First show, I got hired 2 weeks ago. I'm just learning the trucks. I didn't know what any parts were or anything yet. I just knew basic mechanic knowledge. But he had this nitrogen bottle on his shoulder. He was running. Let's see, yeah, he was running towards the stadium. I don't know why. He's just because he's just a hard worker. He was running hard, and I was like, "What can I do to help you?" That's my first time I met Philip Norman, my first show. But yeah, it's just weird you remember things like that. And, I remember Tom rolled over in racing and still won the race that show. Just weird little things I can remember. But other than that, I crewed on his truck first year, and in my second year, that's when Colton tested, and I got into the Gravedigger truck, and that's when the Triple Threat Series started, and all them cowboys on that. It was a really good time. It was quite an experience, really. But I tell you, I've been, driving's awesome and everything, but that bond me and my brother had on that first year, me being his crew chief and him driving Gravedigger's first year, and then him and Morgan Kane kind of battling it out all year, and that was exciting. It really was. We had a great group of people, great crew, learned a lot, worked hard, but that's kind of where it started in the monster truck world for me.
So the funny, like, not the funny thing, but like, you really didn't have, a lot of teams that had brothers. You had the Basil brothers and stuff like that. But was it a lot easier to, have your brother, as, your driver and him as the crew chief? Was it, compared to like, sometimes they'll just throw random people together. Was it a lot easier to have, you're looking out for your little brother, and, he has his big brother watching his back? Was it a lot easier in that kind of sense?
Oh, absolutely. It was cool because I wanted him to succeed so bad. I wanted to see him do good. And then I also cared about his safety so much. I really checked the truck over, and I really I broke down corners on the truck every weekend because I just wanted to, I went through every single corner every weekend. After that year, I'd go through corners. I was like maybe every other week or whatever. But I really took good care of that truck. Funny, I just talking about that truck. He was known to break a locker in the rear end, the front end. He was like the best at it, I think. He was. He was the best at it, and I think I changed 16 lockers that year. 16 lockers, yeah. And we actually, in Rosemont, he was the first one that the company was like, yeah, go ahead and throw a mini spool in that. And because he was sick of breaking lockers, we put a spool in the front end of it. Loved it ever since then. But we were even told to keep it hush hush. They're like, don't tell people you got a spool in there; they'll get jealous. Well, word got out, and then next thing you know, every single truck in the fleet has a spool in the rear, probably, or some people do the front still. But it's just funny how things work out. But yeah, I worked my tail off for that little punk. He broke the truck a lot. But we had a good time.
Dalton?
You mentioned that the first year you worked with Tom, then the second year you worked with Colton. Who would you say was the better option to work with, Tom or Colton?
Well, I was pretty green still my first year with Tom. Beaver taught me a lot on the road. I worked hard. We had plenty of damage. That wasn't an issue. But I learned a lot there. I don't know. Colton, I don't know, since I was older than Colton, maybe that was a little bit easier for me. Because there were a lot of times I'd be like going on the track. I'd walk the track with him, and we'd look at things and come up with different ideas on how to hit things, or just to make it unique. Because we had the same dang track every weekend for a triple threat. And Colton's had the same dang track the whole time. He's always been on the triple threat. And the track, it's hard to mix it up. It really is. You have sometimes they go too wide, sometimes it's a single lane, but just things like that, and we were definitely a team. I don't know. It was cool. Cool, fun time.
And that, the first, few years back then, it was called the More Monster Jam Tour. The first few years of that was special. You had, a bunch of basically rookies, and, they're doing the speedsters and the ATVs. Normally we'd see the ATVs in the quad wars, the somewhat, I hate to say it, scripted kind of thing where, the ends up fighting or whatever like that. But and then they started calling them athletes. It was something different for the time in the sport. And, for yourself and your brother to be a part of that, the early stages of that, now going to the Triple Threat series, it was something special. And like, there must have been like the camaraderie between every single person, like the technicians, the tech officials, the drivers. There must have been like a really good camaraderie, knowing that you guys are, doing something groundbreaking at that time.
Oh, definitely. I mean, there was all sorts of different lingo. I didn't know what they wanted to call that tour or what you couldn't say. You couldn't call the Razor a Razor. You had to call it a Speedster because they couldn't get a sponsorship or some bull crap like that. I don't know, but there was just all sorts of names. But it was really neat. Yeah, like I said, everyone on the tour, we really had to work together. All the mechanics had to work together because there's a lot of rookies, just like you said, Bailey and Dalton and all these folks down there in tours. There's a lot of rookies, and there's a lot of damage. I mean, Becky was on a tour. Her and Colton, I think they had a demo derby every time they got in the speedsters. You didn't have to. At least one of them was going to T-bone each other, flip over, do something wild. But, I mean, it really made it entertaining. It really did. The speedsters were, at the beginning, were so entertaining. That was my favorite part of the show, actually, for a while. The Speedster obstacle course it was awesome. It was very competitive. It was very real, like you were talking about the scripted. There wasn't anything scripted on that. It was for points, they were out there for blood. They were battling, driving hard. It was real. It was cool.
Now that first year, I was actually at the Providence Rhode Island show in 2015 when they first did the More Monster Jam tour. At that particular time, did you think that it was going in the right direction for Monster Jam with them doing the More Monster Jam tour for arenas, giving the fans more things to watch at a show compared to, let's say, you have freestyle motocross or the quad wars in any form of way? Did you feel like, as a crew guy and also future driver, this was a more chance to see, for a better chance for the fans to see something different?
Oh, definitely. I mean, what event can you go to when they're, the same driver is racing 3 different vehicles and 8 different competitions? I believe that's what we started with, 8 different competitions or 7 different competitions. And,
I think it was 8, if I remember correctly. I think it was 8.
I think it was 8 because they did speedster race, round-around racing. Yeah. And, I mean, there's not any other events you can go to, especially we used to do it in 2 hours. You go to an event in 2 hours and you're getting all that action. Everybody was running backstage. Like, I know. I mean, that's just, we were running backstage because we had 2 hours to get the show done. And, they would have a cow if you went over 2 hours. And so we were running. I mean, everybody was running, racing hard. The term athlete came from that tour because you literally had to be running from vehicle to vehicle. A lot of times I'd be getting ready to pull onto the floor, I know when I was driving, pull onto the floor, and I'm still finding my seat belt, plugging my headset in, trying to make sure I'm in the right lane to get tested. And, hey, do I got my fuel on? I'm forgetting things left and right on there because you're so you're mentally burnt, your mind, your body. It wore it all down, but it was awesome.
The odd thing about, when that first season came out is, you guys are part of Team Digger, and a lot of things, and it's just like, you guys are, Tom Mentz's sons, and you guys are in a Dennis Anderson name, and Morgan Kane, being a North Carolina guy, is driving Tom Mentz's truck name, Max D. That was something kind of unique. It was something that it was like, okay, this is different. And, then things, got changed around. And that's when you started driving. There was that video about the whole team swap. And so how did, that come about with you driving? Were you testing even during that period, when the first kind of more Monster Jam seasons were happening? Were you starting to test in the truck and kind of, doing the training at Monster Jam University?
No, not that first year, not at all. It wasn't until probably the end of the first season when they came up to me and I was, hey, would you be interested in getting in the truck? And I was like, well, hell yeah, I would. Are you kidding me? And I honestly, we hear it all the time, like, oh, you got a test track in your parents' backyard. You guys probably got to go out there and play all the time, and that's how you can drive. And actually, no, we can't really. It's not that easy. They got to get it approved from Florida and tell us when we can and can't drive, practice. There was no practice. When I tested, it tested. I just went out there and tested, but I've been watching it my whole life, just like you guys. Just like I felt just natural as heck in there. John Zimmer was kind of coaching me through with my dad, and Zimmer's a very good coach. He's good with, very good on the train track. He can really just put it in perspective for a driver out there. So that's how my testing went. I just went out there and just had some fun. And I knew not to land on the throttle, and I knew how that truck would react and things like that already. So that really helped me out. Because you wouldn't imagine some of the folks out there we've had, because I worked the training track for a couple of years. And some of the folks we'd get out there that they're like, hey, you want an opportunity to test? And they'd fly them out there. And you're like, where are you from? I can remember one in particular. She's like, oh, I'm from, what'd she say? West Coast or Baltimore. I'm from Baltimore. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And so she just met somebody at the show, and they asked her for information, asked her if she wanted to test. This girl didn't have a driver's license. She had a driver's license. She didn't have a car. She didn't need a car. She lived in the city, so she used public transportation. So no big deal on that, right? No harm, no foul. But just to have the motor skills to learn how to use the gas and the brake, we had to start by teaching her that kind of thing. Whew. When you got to start fresh and green like that,
it's not going to go good. And like you mentioned, you're similar to us, watching it your entire life, and when you watch it, you pick up things. And how was that transition? Like, as soon as you got behind the wheel, and you said it was kind of a natural feeling. Were you nervous going into it, or were you like kind of confident in what you've known, and even coming into it being a crew chief? Oh, Siri is not liking me right now. But no, was it easier coming in as well as a crew chief? Because we've talked to Cody Saucier and Dustin Brown, and it's kind of a varied opinion. Do you think crew chiefs make better drivers as well?
I have a lot more respect for mechanic drivers. I have a lot more respect for them. Simply because I was one, and I knew the hard work I put into the truck. So I just have a lot more respect for them. I'm sorry, I have a lot more respect for the independent driver, mechanic drivers, the guy that drives his rig to the show, tires up his truck by himself, drives the truck in the show, fixes it for the next show, drives all night for the next, the next location. Because that's what my dad did. That's what he did. That's how he made his living. And I'm always going to have a special respect for somebody like that. But yes, I definitely agree. I think it does. I knew how to make such different adjustments on the truck, simple ones, to help me out or give me a little bit of advantage. I was definitely one for giving myself an advantage on the truck. If it was a simple sway bar tweak to a shock adjustment, things like that. I just don't think a non-mechanic driver would maybe comprehend that as well. But yes, to answer your question, I do.
Now, in 2016, you were a part of the second AMSOIL Monster Jam Triple Threat Series. Well, the first one, I should say, But you were part of the East Tour. You were with Cole Bernard and Gravedigger, Bar Musauer and Zombie, the Basils. They were on tour again. You were driving I believe was it yellow at first or was it orange, Max D?
Depends what the boys at the paint shop mixed up, you know. 'Cause some days that sucker yellow and black, and that's when it first came out, yellow and black. I thought it was pretty cool. It had that black stripe on the roof. I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. That's all right. And as the year went by, it just got more and more orange looking. And the next thing I know, it looked like the Maxi Fire body in Vegas. But hey, whatever, it was cool. It was so cool.
I was going to say, because the moment I saw that truck in Providence that year, it looked more orange than it was at the beginning of the year. But Colton was on the West Coast. He was driving the gold Max D at the time. Did it kind of feel a little bit like you're missing something because your brother's on a totally different coast compared to you being on the East Coast, and it was your first time actually being a part of a tour? Did you feel any bit of pressure without Colton being there?
Not necessarily. I missed being on tour with him for sure. I was always, I'd text him after the event, or even at intermission, I'd go shoot him a text like, "How's it going out there?" Vice versa, he texts me. Just cute. We kept up with each other and how the points were going, and we're both so competitive. Like very competitive. I think I'm a little bit more competitive than him actually, but I really am, and that's why it. Really chapped my ass if I thought I didn't get treated fairly, or if he didn't get treated fairly. It really did. I'd let him know. I'd really let him know, especially But yeah, Cole Bernard, that first tour, we had a good time, man. Cole, a hell of a driver, hell of a one-legged driver. He would whoop my butt on that quad. He'd whoop all our butts on that quad. He was shifting with his hand. He's reaching down, shifting with his hand. He had a ratchet strap, zip tied to
Oh, we might have lost them.
stick.
It cut out there. You hear us?
Okay, I was just talking about Cole driving racing that quad. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay, yeah, he's racing that quad. He'd whoop us all. He was shifting with his hand, and he would pretty much be laughing us out there, but we just tried to do our best.
Say he had a little bit of a disadvantage because everybody else was trying to shift on the quad regularly. Meanwhile, he's using his hand to change the gears. No one decided to say, "Hey, this guy can't be doing that." If he's got an easier advantage, shouldn't the whole entire tour have the same thing?
Oh, there was no advantage. He's just very intuitive. He's good. He adapted and overcame, and he won. He won. He kicked their butt. He did good. It was a fun year, that's for sure. And he was a riot. I used to take his. He had two different prosthetics, and one in the locker room. He'd be like cleaning it or getting it adjusted for the show, and sometimes when he wasn't looking, I'd take it, hide it from him. Try to give myself an advantage for later. But it never worked out. I didn't beat him too many times.
So talk about the speedsters and the ATVs, and the challenges of that. Going from like you have three different vehicles. Two of them you're sitting in and driving, and then the other one you're like on, and racing the quad. And how the transition between all three, was it easy? Because like I've seen some clips of the speedsters, and they basically have it almost set up like you're in your truck. They have a little handle for the rear steer so people can drive one-handed. How is that? You're learning to drive the monster truck, and then they throw in, you're going to be racing the speedsters and the ATVs. How is that? With the training and also in the competitions.
Oh, it was a good. The speedsters was one of my favorite parts. Honestly, it was really fun. They're really fun to drive. I actually, not too many people know. I think it was my second year driving or something. Let's see, second year. I actually broke my hand in the speedster, and the steering wheel. I came off the pod, and the front wheels were turned a little bit, and my hand got caught in there and broke my hand. But it was it was fun. I ended up racing the rest of the year with a broken hand, but that was interesting. I had to pay the bills. I had to keep racing, but uh, yeah, but they were fun, man. They had like the seats weren't custom built seats, but they were more of a containment style seat. They had like three different sizes or whatnot, small, medium, large, and yeah, I never ran one of them weird looking rear steer fake handles or anything like that. But I did put a rear view mirror in mine a few times, couple of sits. So I could. You were really using strategy when you were racing. You had to see what lines they were taking on the turn pulls because it actually changed. Um, one of the years I was in it, they made us do the inside outside rule on there. So if you're the first one to approach a cone, you're supposed to go inside to out on lanes, is what they told us. And it was supposed to make it more fair so that, you can't just hug the inside the whole time, and so it's not follow the leader. So this way it made it more of a race and more entertaining. And that's our job. We're entertainers. So it was all right rule. It was hard to get used to though. It was really hard to get used to. And then when they started enforcing the rules, it was kind of confusing for the fans. So then you, as a driver, you had to take it upon yourself to be like, all right, what's my job here? And is it to race, entertain? You had to have a mixture of it. So, um, it was good they enforced the rules. Is what I was getting at.
You had also, obviously within that first year, you had also qualified, if memory serves, you had qualified for the Young Gun Shootout in 2016, going to Las Vegas at Sam Boyd Stadium. Now, throughout most of the year, you were inside small buildings doing 3 shows over the course of the weekend. Now you're in this big stadium out in Las Vegas, like the biggest Monster Jam event of the season, and you're getting the chance to qualify you're getting the chance to win one race to go into the next race to be a part of a major event. What were the differences, not only just different venue and all that stuff, but like a lot of the differences from racing at Sam Boyd, starting from outside, going inside, and just doing everything completely different compared to what you had been doing throughout the course of the year?
Big game changer, It was like my first event that was actually outside. It was cool though. It was really, I'd been to Vegas, many years in the past and watched and been, in the back part of the action, just watching. But being actually part of it, racing, completely different ball game. You could tell that they've done the Vegas show as many times as they've done it because they're so good at it. They were so good, so coordinated. The back pit area, I give it to the tech officials and everybody coordinating the shows back there. It was orchestrated very well. They did. It was really cool. But the racing itself is now that's where your nerves hit when you get out there. That's when the nerves hit. And I don't even think I was breathing. I think I just pulled my breath like I didn't realize I wasn't breathing. I was so nervous and excited at the same time. I just wanted to hit the gas and go fast. But you had to. It's cool. It was yeah, when I hit 68 mile an hour during practice, and I was like, "Wow, that's the fastest I've ever been." It was. I was like, "I hope these brakes work pretty good." I went through my truck a lot, and I had good crew chief along the way too. I trusted, but you definitely have to trust your crew chief when you get out there. You have to, because one little mess up can really do some damage. You can rear steers messed up. You got a ball switch hanging or anything like that. It could be a bad wreck.
So I forget exactly what year it was. I was watching some of my YouTube clips earlier, getting prepared for this. And there was the one race where at the very end you rolled it. Not exactly sure what year that was, but talk about that. You still won the race. And that's what mattered. You won. But what was that experience like? When all of a sudden you're flipping around and you land on your wheels and were you just thinking, did I win or did I lose? Like, what just happened?
It happens to me all the time, and yeah, it's I just wanted to get across the finish line. Like I just just like out of straight out of Talladega Nights. You know, they wrecked and they got out of the car. That's all I pictured. I was like, do I need to unstrap and cross the finish line, or am I on fire? What the hell's going on? You know? Yeah, it's Vegas is awesome, and everybody that's ever been part of it is gonna miss it out there. Sam Boyd was an awesome place.
Oh, well, just quickly, we just have a comment here from Dustin Brown. He says, supposed to wear sunscreen while working on grain bins, Jared.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time out there. Right now I'm doing some commercial concrete work. So we're pouring big grain bin footings and pits and whatnot. And spend about 12 hours out in the sun, if you can't tell, a little bit.
Trust me, that happens to me. I burn. I am as pasty as they come, and I burn when I'm at shows, and I forget to wear sunscreen. But let's move away from the martial arts just a little bit. We'll come back to that. So, besides, the whole monster truck industry and, everything that you've done in that, one thing that we talked to your brother about was hunting. And I know, we just became Facebook friends just as of today. And, I noticed that you're an avid hunter. Talk about your love for hunting and what do you hunt, kind of the terrains you like going for? What equipment do you like to use when you go out hunting?
Well, I really enjoy hunting, but I'll just be the first one to tell you, I'm not nearly as big of a hunter as my brother. He has a slight obsession towards it. He really does. But it's a good thing. It's a good hobby to have. We respect nature and animals and do it right, follow the rules. And it makes it special, especially, we make sure we have all the right tags and gear. We're big bow hunters. We like the whitetail deer with the bows. And then we have like a shotgun season here. Like 2 weekends out of the year or whatnot. But we're definitely trophy hunters, though. See this?
How many points on that one?
21, actually.
Whoo, that's good.
Scored 201 and 3/8. So yeah, it's my biggest one, but it's still a little bigger than my brother's biggest deer. Put that out there. So he shoots big deer every year, but not as big as mine. So he's still working on it. I bet he'll get one day.
Big brother's got that advantage, and living here in Alberta, hunting's a very big thing. Some of the places that I've went with my dad at times, and I'm actually going to be getting my firearms license hopefully this year, so I can actually go out hunting with him and start doing that. But do you like more of a rougher terrain when you go hunting, or do you? Because I know especially here it's more mountainous and lots of hills and stuff like that. But I know where you guys are, it's kind of a little bit more flat and stuff like that. But what kind of terrains do you prefer to hunt in?
I've only had the opportunity to hunt around here, but I would love to go out west and go big game hunting someday. Got a couple buddies that do it. They go out and mount elk and moose and whatnot. I'd like to go black bear hunting too. I think that'd be fun. But someday got to save a couple dollars up, maybe go out and shoot a big game sometime.
Hey, if you're ever wanting to come to Canada, man, definitely come to Alberta. That's where a lot of big game is. There's quite a bit of I remember the bull moose that my dad shot, quite a few years ago. That thing was just massive. Even just the black bears around here, it's insane. Some of the hunting that is not even about 100 miles away that you can get to. It's insane.
Yeah, that's definitely a good passion. It's a good sportsmanship.
What other kind of stuff are you into? Besides hunting, any other racing you're into? Kind of what other stuff do you like to do?
My wife and I just recently bought a property out in the country, and we've been kind of making it our own a little bit. I haven't had a whole lot of time to do fun racing things or anything. I've been landscaping. I've been building decks. I've been working on my driveway. I'm pretty good with a weed eater and a mower. It takes me 4 hours to mow my yard. I got 5 acres. That's been a hobby of mine actually lately. It's just simply just making my property a little nicer out here and making it our own. We got 3 dogs, we got a cat, and my wife thinks she's a chicken farmer. So she's got about 8 chickens as well. We collect the eggs from them and eat them eggs. So we're having a good time out here, though. We're enjoying the new property.
I could just imagine you're out mowing, neighbor looks and you're, there in your helmet and an old fire suit and just like, oh, what is he doing?
Right.
Starts doing poppers and moonwalks while mowing the lawn.
I could, yeah, I could. I know. I think my dad, he posted some video of doing that in his nice lawnmower with his fire suit, I think. And then right after he was riding wheelies on it, something broke on his mower, like right after the video. I was like, I hope it was worth, that's what my mom said. She's like, I hope it was worth making the video.
Speaking of like go back to the monster truck stuff. Speaking of like the poppers and moonwalks, that the whole more Monster Jam triple threat brought that into the whole thing. It started with the Paxton poppers and talk about that whole thing of all these moves coming up now. And now you see guys like Tyler Menninga, even your dad breaking the world record. Talk about that kind of evolution in monster trucks, because before that wheelie contests were just typical pop and drop, and now you see what it is today, and you guys were a part of that whole evolution of the two-wheel skills and tricks. How did all that happen? Was it just you guys just were like, let's try this and see what happens kind of thing?
Well, I mean, that's kind of how anything cool happens, and on the monster trucks, like, well, I hit this with one wheel, I hit the brake here, and it did this. I'm gonna try it again. No, it's Cody Saucier, when he was at the house when they first did the first year triple threat or more monster jam, whatever the hell they call it, and he did that stoppie. He was able to balance that sucker on the front end, and he was able to trip up the rear tire, walk it out, and balance it. And ever since then, everybody's like, oh, that's badass. Like something, we're going to add to that. We're going to try to, add to a stoppie. And then, Ryan Anderson threw it in reverse and did the moonwalk. And then it was like, wow, we got to keep stepping it up. To be able to compete with that, we got to keep stepping it up. And then where were we? And Colton did the reverse popper. He was in Gravedigger. Can't think of where we were. It was the last stop on that tour. And Grand Rapids, Michigan is where it was. Grand Rapids, Michigan, first year in Gravedigger, and Colton does. He's in freestyle. It's kind of a smaller track there. And he pulls the front tires off the pod and just throws that sucker in reverse, pops the front tires up and holds the brake and stands it straight up and down. And we're like, reverse popper. He got out of the truck and they're like, what the heck do you call that? And we're both like, I don't know. How about a popper? How about a reverse popper? And then so that started, reverse popper, and he made that up. And then we were talking, me and him, and Colton goes, I bet we could do it forward onto the pad. I was like, I'll try it. So I actually, how I said I didn't get to practice at my parents' house, but I actually got to practice because I really pushed for it. And I got to practice, and I was out there practicing the forward popper onto the pad, and I didn't get it right away. It took some work. It took some work to figure out how to get the throttle at the right point and get far enough back on the ramp to make sure the tires were just right and lined up perfect. And I got a few of them there, and then we went down to Mexico City. And Mexico City is where the first Paxton popper that I did was down there. It was pretty cool. Shortly after that, they told me I couldn't say Paxton popper. I don't know why, but so it just went to popper. But yeah, the evolution is crazy. But then, evolution's great and new tricks are great and everything. But I don't know, maybe it's because I've seen 500 of these triple threat shows on these pods. But I get tired of seeing the same damn thing over and over. Every other person's going out there. They're like, all right, you got 3 hits. And they all go out there and do a popper or a moonwalk. And, it's like, I just rather go back to old-fashioned. Oh, there's my dog. I'd rather go back to old-fashioned walking a wheelie, because I guarantee less drivers out there, because walk a slow Gary Porter style wheelie across the pod, then I guarantee it. Guarantee they can't do it. Not very many, at least. But I wish they'd go back to that a little bit, practice some of them skills, being able to catch it on the rear bumper. But other than that, though, they need to make some. I'm ready for the next move to come out. I'm ready for something cool to come out. I'm ready for a new track to come out. So hopefully after we get through November here and figure out what we're going to do with this COVID virus, and hopefully people will come with a vaccine or something so the world can go back to normal and we can come out with some new moves, right?
Now, obviously, within that first year of those moves being invented, everyone always knows that Ryan Anderson was one of the first ones to do the moonwalk. Clayton did the reverse popper. One of the things that even myself, I've always wanted to know, especially from a driver's point of view, you see it on video. People are like, oh, he knows exactly what he's doing while he's up on the front tires and he's riding it out. How do you know exactly where you are in terms of being on the pod or being on the ground, from being either on the back two tires, being on the front two tires? How exactly do you know where to either stop, go, brake, etc.? How exactly do you know where you have to be in order to make sure you're doing this move in a safe way?
Running in those arenas, you have to know exactly where your rear end is, where your rear tires are, because you touch those dashers in those arenas, you bottom. So you gotta be good at it. You gotta know where your truck's at. And I mean, the more, it just becomes part of you. It really does. As facetious as it sounds, the truck has to become part of you. And I mean, you can tell the guys that are comfortable with it. You can just see it. And then you're literally working your left hand, your right hand, your left foot, your right foot. You're moving every body part you got in there, and you're making it. You're entertaining the fans is what you're doing, and it's just, I love it.
So we gotta. Sorry, Dalton. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, also within that point, I know a lot. I don't necessarily know, if a lot of Monster Jam drivers at that time had, the crew guys talking in their ear and all that stuff. Did you also have, a crew guy telling you exactly, oh, you're near this part of the pod, you're near this part of, you're near this part of the floor and all that stuff? Did you also have someone in your ear telling you exactly where you were, or was it just basically a mental judgment call?
That was just a mental judgment call. We ran them tracks so many times, the same damn track over and over and over. You kind of had a pretty good idea, you really did. You had a good idea on where you were at the time. I think some people have a better idea than others, but it's all you. I mean, some drivers might have the crew chief talk to them and tell them things. I wasn't one of those drivers that was like that. I'll tell you when the red light's on, or what I mean. Tell me when the red light's on, or if I'm on fire or broken. But other than that, don't talk to
me. So we have a question here from Pat Roy. Asks, talk about your very first Speedway show experience, Stafford in 2018, and that's usually because you were doing all these small arenas. You're not allowed to go wide open, really. You got to, keep yourself in check. And then going to a legendary venue like Stafford that has seen, some awesome racing, some awesome moments. How was that experience, going to somewhere where you can let her eat finally?
Well, that was a great time out there. It rained one of the shows or something. And it was wild. I remember I jumped. It wasn't my chassis, I don't think. It wasn't my chassis. Someone jumped the chassis. I don't even think it was a small cage chassis. I think it was a big one they threw the body on. But I remember breaking a champagne off in one of the big jumps they did and broke the tire. But I remember that front straightaway. Actually, it wasn't the front straightaway. It was like a road they had in the middle. It was covered in water, and I came down through there and walked the donut all the way across the track. It was fun. It was just fun. And then racing was fun. Big wide open track. change the gears up in my truck to make it go a little faster, and you know, it was awesome. I love those old school tracks, that's for sure. I wish I could just do those all the time. Honestly, they're you know, you don't gotta worry about bumping into walls very often or anything like that.
You had mentioned, obviously this is more of like a rhetorical question here, but like you had mentioned about you had always wanted to go on like the old school tracks. You always wanted to do something like that. If you had to go back, what point of the monster truck industry would you have liked to go back on? The 80s with the leaf springs, the 90s when they had just started developing all this new technology in the monster trucks with the tube chassis, nitrogen or coilover shocks, a lot of trucks going to rear engine, or more into the 2000s where freestyle was really becoming more popular as part of the shows. It was becoming scored. If you had to go back, what point in the monster truck industry would you like to go to?
Back to the Zoomies. That's what I'm
I think everybody would just.
That was actually going to be my next question. That was actually going to be my next question.
It's like they say, loud pipes save lives, man.
They do. There's some monster trucks. I mean, I understand in some of these small venues having exhaust, but on these bigger venues, you got to put the freaking Zoomies back on it. You got to go back to then. But I mean, the technology in the trucks and the engineering on trucks are so tough and strong now, but they're also heavier than hell. They're so heavy. They're ridiculously heavy. But you know, I would say, yeah, 2010 era around there, 2007, 10. Because the technology was still pretty good there. You could still jump really big there. You know, and engineering was really right on the trucks. The competition was top notch. And honestly, I'll just talk a little shit. It's before the prima donnas. There wasn't too many prima donnas back then. There really wasn't, and it was a lot of good old boys, hard workers. You know, that's what I miss.
That just made my night.
Well, I'll just comment on the Zoomies things. It's like I completely agree. One of my favorite sounds ever is Dennis Anderson, Gravedigger 20, the 1-2 shift. Him coming out of the pits for freestyle is one of my favorite sounds to this day. I will watch clips just to hear that. It was just an iconic sound. We have some more fan questions here. Actually, before that, you know, the one of them has to deal with kind of what you've been doing recently. So, you know, you decided to step away from the seat in 2019, I believe, at the beginning of the season. What kind of was it hard to step away? You know, was it easy at the time? Did you regret it, you know, stepping out of the seat and, you know, kind of going somewhat back to a normal job and normal life at the time?
Right. Oh, absolutely. You know, I miss it for sure. And, you know, I plan on being back in sometime. You know, maybe not myself, but, you know, I plan on doing some more driving. It's just, yeah, the normal life. I needed some security on knowing where my next paycheck was coming from. So when I was driving, they would tell you, you know, it looks like you're going to have 28 weekends this year. So it's like, all right, yeah, that'd be good. 28 weekends would be good. And then you get through first quarter and they're like, well, we had to take a couple shows away and we put this truck in there because we thought we needed this truck instead of your truck. So it's like, well, all right, I guess I'll go find another job, you know. I got to keep my lights on at my house and feed my dogs. So I had to find it. But I missed everything about it. I can't wait to go back in the truck. So that little fix I had driving for Harper that weekend, you know, I was just filling in. But it really scratched the itch that I needed to get back in that monster truck and have some fun.
And that actually
come about? Oh, sorry, Bob.
Well, that actually, you were right on that. It brings it. Cheech actually asked this question. How was it driving for Mike Harper? You know, going to the independent side of monster trucks, you know, after being part of the corporation for so long, you know, seeing that side of it, going to the whole independent side and kind of, you know, I think the independent side is a little bit more laid back. And, you know, what was that whole deal? How did that all come about?
Oh, it was awesome. I've known Harper for a long, long time, and he just needed a driver that weekend, and gave me a call. So I was like, well, you know what? I could probably make that work. I could probably make that work. So flew down to Texas, um, and I loved it. Drove great. His equipment's very good. He has ZF housing, so it's right up my alley. I love it. So, um, I'm just very appreciative of the opportunity to drive for him and hope to do it again.
Now, obviously, within that little period there, and actually, we had just talked about this. In 2017, a lot of changes happened in the year within Monster Jam. No more special bodies. Every Max D got a regular Max D body. Every truck that ran either Zoomies or straight pipes, they went to MagnaFlow exhausts. Coming from a driver, you had just said that you missed the Zoomies and everything. When you first heard the news, how exactly did you take it?
It's just like anything else. The world's getting soft.
Agreed.
Everyone's getting is sensitive and has feelings, and I honestly just think it's just part of the evolution of what's going on right now in the world. So what do? You adapt. You just gotta adapt and go with it. And you can piss and moan for a little bit, but in reality, what's it gonna do?
Yeah.
You gotta change your own mindset. You really do. And when you can control your own mindset, you don't get too upset about it. Just stay positive, keep having fun. You just gotta adapt.
Well, speaking of, control your own mindset and stuff like that, it kind of goes to this question. Nathan Smith asks, if you could have your own truck built from the ground up, what would you do? So if you were, starting your own team from scratch, what would you do? Like chassis wise, like would your ideal truck be?
Drive C100, my dad's truck, front engine. Um, I love everything about it. Chuck Warner and Josh Dyke and them boys, they really did good building it and designing it. I love everything about it. I love the way it lands, it races. The white housings, really good for racing, stability. They say you have to really work at it to make it look out of control in freestyle because it just lands so good. You have to try. I mean, Neil talks about it all the time. You have to try to make it look out of control because it works so good. That's exactly what I would do. I'd have ZF housings and the motors in the front. So.
Well, I remember the first time I got to see your brother drive, it was in Calgary, and I was working club, and I remember them pulling, the truck out of the hauler, and I'm like, expecting to see, the typical CRD rear engine, and all of a sudden I see your dad's truck. I'm like, okay, I'm not expecting this. And like seeing that truck in person and how it worked, that's exactly like you were describing. Like you have to make that thing look out of control. Like that thing landed so smooth on so many hits. I'm just like, are you kidding me right now? Like you see it on TV and it just doesn't do it justice. You have to see that truck in person to appreciate. And that truck, the technology, like the basis of that truck goes all the way back to the 1980 or 1989 when Jack Willman designed the original style. And it shows the longevity of that style of truck and all the improvements that your dad and Josh and even Beaver and them did to that truck to make it what it is today.
Right. Yep. They're straight. Those chassis are straight built right in Paxton. Every pipe's bought in Paxton, every tube, it's created right there on the jig. They don't have a jig. They do it, just build it. They just build it. They know how to do it. And, man, it's really, over the years, they've got it figured out, I think. Yeah, I love everything about it. Colton really did good driving that truck in Houston when he filled in for my dad for the first time. He went out there and rolled over a couple times and ended up winning. He likes Houston. I hope they send him back there again. He's had a good run there.
Did you ever get a chance to drive your dad's truck, whether in testing or anything?
If I told you, I'd have to kill you. No. No, I never have. But hey, maybe someday I maybe I'll wait for them to go out of town sometime and tire that sucker out.
Another question from Scott Bryant. He says, does performing in the smaller arenas improve overall skill in driving?
For sure. You have to be way more of a technical driver. You can't just go out there and hold the throttle wide open. You know, you have to have a plan. Once you hit the throttle, you have to have a plan what your response is going to be. Your reaction time has to be twice as fast than in a stadium. You're thinking ahead every single time you jump off the pod. Every time you're in the air, you're thinking before you're in the air, you're thinking on what your next hit's going to be because you just have to plan ahead. It's so small. I just think a lot of arena drivers that go to stadiums turn out to be more technical drivers and a little bit more skillful.
Now, you had mentioned, this is kind of goes back into that question here, but in kind of a more different type here. Whenever you were on tour, whether ATVs, speedsters, was there ever a time where, let's just say, you kind of pulled a practical joke whenever you were performing and all that stuff? Like maybe, you're in the speedsters, you give like a little love tap after a race is done or so, or kind of, just something fun to kind of, not only while you're entertaining in front of the crowd, but kind of entertain yourselves as well.
That's all we did, buddy. That's all we did. We played along. Cole Vernard's one of the most. Him and Brandon Vincent. There's something in the water out there in North Carolina because those boys are some pranksters because they're always playing tricks on us. And man, just anything. We'd put stuff in other people's speedsters or trucks or put funny pictures or air fresheners or we put this weird stuff in there, to get a laugh. But that's how you broke up the monotonous because every weekend it felt like the same thing, do your 4 shows, do your practice, do your 4 shows, and then pack up and load out and go to the next place. It's got monotonous a little bit. But you had to have fun with it, just like any job. You got to have a little bit of fun or it's going to be boring and you're going to hate it. So.
Well, I think they were probably messaging back and forth with Mike Wine because, I bring him up a lot. Mike, has been awesome to us in the podcast, and he's notorious for some of the stuff that he has pulled. There's a lot of stories that we've had about him that's just like, oh man, just that dude's a prankster. And like, talk about that camaraderie, between the drivers on those tours because even though you guys are in a point series and sometimes it's very down to the wire in the points. What's the camaraderie like between all you? Because you were mentioning there, playing practical jokes on everybody, but at the end of the day, you guys are there to entertain. And what was it like, in those times?
Oh, for sure. That's who you hung out with. You're with them from Thursday. The Flying Boys were there from Thursday night to Monday morning. And then when me and Cole were on tour together, I was turning wrenches on my truck and driving my truck. Cole was doing the same thing. He was turning wrenches on his truck. And so we were together for over 3 months straight. We pretty much, we spent every day together, working on trucks, racing each other, playing jokes, going out to eat, things like that. It was, we created a good friendship there. I still text him to this day every once in a while, and it's a good bond. It's one we won't ever forget, and that's with any driver I've been with. There's a good relationship there with a good portion of them.
This one kind of it's kind of both of you for this one because Dalton, you've been to Providence, obviously, and so it's from Nick Bolger. And, this will be able to get 2 different perspectives of it. He asked, what was the deal with the Sunday freestyle run from Providence, Rhode Island in 2018, if you remember it?
Well, I was not there for that one, so I can't really say anything about it. But Jared, you were there for that one, and go for it.
I believe 2018 was that I think that's when they announced that Justin beat me, I think, in points. I believe that's what happened. honestly don't remember on the freestyle. I might have just been pissed off. I
You
don't
might
know.
you might have just went all Larry and Tyson, just gonna send it.
Yeah, man, I don't even know. I might have just did a donut and shut the truck off. I really don't know. I couldn't
Uh,
tell you. I couldn't tell you. Things were heated.
Jeff Sin, he's like, oh my god, it's Big Ike. Ask him how Trucker Todd is doing.
Jeff Sin, Cody Saucier, his brother-in-law, crew chief. We were on tour together that first year. We were trailer mates. So I was working on Digger. He was working on Monster. We became good buds out there. And Trucker Todd was our Swift driver, and he was like he was with us all the time, and he had a million different stories. Let me tell you what, he's one of them one-upper guys. So if you got a story, he'll come right back with one that's like way better and way more extravagant. Yeah, he's that man. I'd be surprised if he's still trucking. That's for sure.
So as we start to wind down and everything like that, here at Crush This, we have two kind of specific questions, and the one I'll have to find out from Cheech kind of where it ranks. And these are hard-hitting questions. These are the most hard-hitting questions. You think you haven't had anything yet. These are the questions, these the ones that mean the most, okay? And one of them has to do with those pesky Norman brothers. Yeah, those two, eggnog loving, fools. So first one, and this one comes from our. Oh wait, I think this is Cheech's here. Before that, it says, Jared, your brother had the best comp manager on his tour this year. It was me. I'm biased. That I don't know. I think that might have been Josh Dig Rhodes. He might be commenting on that because I know Josh is that's Dig. That's Josh Rhodes. Any fun stories about being on the road with Colton? So I think that's Dig. If that's Dig, let me know, please, Josh.
It probably would be Dig.
Fun stories about being on the road with Colton.
Yeah.
My favorite story goes all the way back to Spain with Colton. It was actually Dalton Milliken was with us out there. We were on Cody Saucier and all them boys, Morgan. And we had a good time in Spain. We spent 3 weeks out there and just sightseeing and seeing. We rented bicycles. We had a good time out there. Yeah, and actually today's 5 years of remembrance of Dalton. I couldn't believe he's been gone that long. I love that guy. We miss him every day, that's for sure. But we always had a good time out there.
He seemed like he was a character, behind the scenes, and it's just I imagine what kind of talent he would have been today, still driving, and the kind of stuff that he would have been able to accomplish in the sport. And his memory will always be still going to this day, with his dad. And it's just what kind of a guy was he? We saw obviously the videos of him, but what how was he? Was he a fun-loving guy? Was when it came down to, because he was a quad guy, he was a quad racer, so he probably took that more seriously than anything.
Dalton didn't take anything seriously, but he was good at everything. He really was. He lit up a room when he walked into it. He really did. You were with Dalton, you weren't having a bad time. You were laughing, you were smiling. That's who he was.
All right, so here's the hard-hitting questions. Are you ready for this one?
Let's hear it.
All right, so this one's from our buddy Brandon Culpepper Sr. This has been since day one on the podcast. This one, it was just a random thing. He was like, hey, ask him about this. I was like, okay. And every single episode, 5 years, we've been doing it. And so what is your favorite kind of pie?
Oh, man.
See, this is hard-hitting.
I like my desserts. I had an ice cream cone before I got on here with you. Just so you know, I like my mom makes a great apple pie. But I'm a banana cream lover too, man. I don't know. One of those banana cream or apple.
I think banana cream, that's a first. We've had apple a few times, but I think the weirdest one that we had, or the one that kind of surprised us a lot, was banana no, was it chocolate peanut butter pie? We had that a few times.
That's not too bad. I like strawberry rhubarb pie too, but man, I'm a dessert connoisseur. I get down on some dessert.
Dude, look at me. I'm the same way. I am the same way. I cannot help it. Like I'm a chunky dude. I love food.
Whatever.
I can't help it.
Right.
And so here's the next question. It's another food related one, and this one has to deal with those, the brothers. Those. I can't stand those guys sometimes. Just kidding. I love you guys. I love you, Christian Phil. So it all stems from. I'll give you the kind of the backstory here. So Cheech used to live with those guys down in Florida, and one day Cheech opens up the freezer and there's eggnog ice cream, and Cheech just loses it. He hates eggnog. I do as well. But those two brothers love it, and we've had this feud going for so long now. Are you a fan, or do you absolutely despise the stuff?
Man, I'm not an eggnog guy. No.
Yes, Suck It Norman Brothers. Yes, that is another one for
What's wrong with eggnog? What's wrong with eggnog?
Okay. I keep saying it every single episode. It's the consistency of it. It's the nutmeg in it. It's too strong. I can't do it. No amount of spiced rum will make that better. Even if Darren Miguez pours a whole giant thing of Captain Morgan in a thing of eggnog, it doesn't make it any better. And I know how much Darren loves his eggnog or his spiced rum.
Okay, I think I've officially heard it all now.
Actually, speaking of the Norman Brothers, you said you met Phil your first year. Any kind of funny interactions you've had with those two? Because those guys are a riot anytime you're around either one of them.
Yeah, those are some good dudes, man. They're hard workers. Help anybody. Good cats. Oh, I got a million stories about Phil, man. He's a walking joke, man. He just like you look at Phil and you just laugh, and you're like, I don't even know what you're gonna say, but it's probably gonna be funny. Like I don't know. He's a clown. I love working with him. He's a good worker and entertaining. He's a good cat.
So, as we wind it down here, is there anything that you like to? Cheech says Dalton is fired. Oh, Cheech.
I do have something. I wrote it down because I didn't want to forget to talk about it. So, arena backflips.
Ooh, okay, yes. Let's talk about this.
So, yep. When I was with Colton and he was driving Gravedigger in Iowa. Iowa. I think it was Des Moines. Anyways, we're talking like, hey, we're gonna try this nose pick backflip because everybody was doing this nose pick wheelie, flying into that AR6 is what they call it, the tall hill on there, and then doing a little nose pick wheelie. And I was like, hey, I think you could nose pick and you hit the throttle at the right time, that sucker's gonna come right around. I mean, because people have nose picked into it and landed on the roof without even trying. So if you actually tried, you could get that sucker to rotate. I was like, Colton, what do you think? And then we were talking with Carmack, the dirt guy out there, and Carmack's been around the game for a while. He's watched how these trucks react off this dirt. He goes, I think you could do it too. So we're like, all right. So I'm on the radio with him, and I'm like, all right, line up for it, bud. He's lining up for it. This is in freestyle. He goes and he hits the throttle, perfect time. That sucker rotates all the way around, just lands a little cattywampus coming down, and rolls over. But let me tell you, we got phone calls from everybody on how stupid that was and why did you try a backflip in an arena? That's the dumbest thing in the world. Threatening to fire us and, threatening to fire me. And I mean, me and Carmack, and we're not even in the fucking driving it. And, it was quite the ordeal for a while, right? So we got in the doghouse. We were in the doghouse. Don't be trying stupid stuff like that. Boom, 5 years down the line. What are we doing? Backflip. Arena backflip. Who's the dummy now, right?
You guys were ahead of the curve. You guys were like, you know what? Now you guys can look back at it like, we told you so.
Hey, the weird thing was, I was just actually watching footage of this, At an overseas show, Colton tried doing it again. He actually tried doing it again. He actually tried it twice. He couldn't get it the first time. So then he tries it again the second time, but either he was late on the throttle or just couldn't get enough momentum, lands right on the hood, and just he even tried recovering it for a little bit, but could not get it back on its wheels. It's like he wasn't giving up. He was going to get that one way or another.
Oh, I remember, buddy. I had to fix that truck. It took the whole front of the chassis, and it rolled the whole front of the chassis from like where your firewall, where your feet are, down, was completely rolled down. They had to call some special welder in so we could use his welding gear to try to fix that chassis. And me and RL and Tanner Swinehart got her fixed up, and we used it was quite, they had to, when they got that truck back to the States, they had to cut the whole front of the truck off and redo it.
I think that was the final year for that grave digger anyway.
Yeah, that was Gary Porter's old digger, 26, I think.
I think it was 25. I know 26 was Zimmer's ride.
Yeah, 25.
I need to find footage of these again. It's been a long time since I almost completely forgot about that that happened back in the arena. One last question from one of our fans here. Any pranks that your dad has pulled on you?
I was mowing years ago, and I'm not the biggest fan of snakes. I'm not too afraid of them, but I don't want to go play with one, right? And he's not afraid of them at all. And yeah, he chased me. I was on the mower, and he chased me with a big old snake he caught in the yard. That's the one that'll burn in my memory for the rest of my life. But,
Hey, that'd be me if it was a spider. I will run. I'm a big dude, 300 pounds, 6 foot tall. I'm a little girl when it comes to a spider. I'm like, nope, screw this. I'd rather have my girlfriend kill the spider for me. I'm not kidding you. I cannot do it.
I wouldn't tell people that.
Hey, I'd rather be known for that than the guy that fell over a hockey dasher staging trucks at his hometown event. So
you're gonna have people look up that now.
I'll tell Jared the story. So, before we end here, I was doing a show with the Throwdown crew here where I live in Grand Prairie, and it was like first round racing. It's kind of my hometown, and one of the guys comes up to me and is like, "Hey, we're gonna let you stage trucks. It's your hometown. We want to give you the shot." And it's back when I was kind of chasing that part of the dream that I've always had to work in the business. So first round, I'm staging up Trent Montgomery. He was driving Bounty Hunter, and then a guy by the name of Matt Brokaw was driving Knucklehead. And I bring them up. I'll send you the video later so you can actually see it as well. I bring the trucks up, and Matt Looker is standing beside me and coaching me. And before this, they're like, "Hey, you have to jump over the hockey dasher." I'm like, "Okay." I did a couple of practice runs, made it. And all of a sudden, game time. I point to where I think it was Elliot Miller was dropping the green flag, and I run like a bat out of hell. I might be a big dude, but I'm agile. And I go over, and the inside of my knee catches, and I just go ass over tea kettle over this. And I still laugh to this day because that's the video that they put on their Twitter account saying "making dreams come true," and it was just like, oh my! And I swear to God that just haunted me for years. They let me do it again for final round, and I actually made it, but it was just like, oh my God. Are you kidding me?
It could have been like Danny Barnes in Worcester a couple of years ago. Black Stallion rolled over, and Danny Barnes comes out to see if Matt Cody's okay. And this was the first year they had decided to put a pod, like a regular pod that you see in stadiums now. This was the first time they had tried using a pod in an arena. Danny caught one of the edges of the pod and just falls face first into the dirt. It's on someone's Facebook profile, but like every year when that pops up, it's just that it's like all you see is just this one official come running out, and then next thing you see, his legs go over his head because he trips over the dirt.
Any moments like that you've seen?
I've seen it. I know something you guys probably don't know is, so my last year in Vegas, I was they were doing the truck parade. The drivers are sitting on top of the truck. You guys hear about this when I fell off the truck?
No.
Okay.
No.
So we're getting ready. I was on the corner getting ready to turn onto the main road there and start to pull out there on the main road. My crew chief's driving. I had like my left foot like in the window, and I was sitting on the roof, and I felt pretty stable up there. And then all of a sudden, this show director, I won't say any names, walks out in front of the truck, and my crew chief doesn't see him because he doesn't have a high vis on. Doesn't see him till the last minute, and we're rolling. Doesn't see him last minute, and then sees him, locks the brakes, and this is a clean truck. He did a really good job cleaning this truck because I slid the F off the hood and grabbed, I'm grabbing for dear life. I didn't have a handle. I take 3 spikes with me, and I fall into the front left tire. My shoe lands on my crew chief's lap somehow, and then I hit the tire and then hit the ground. I'm shoeless. I'm bleeding from my knees, and I got 2 spikes in my hand. I'm not kidding. Yep.
And
that was embarrassing. Not too many people thought that.
Well, I can understand the embarrassment. That's for me. It was my hometown, arena full of people, and for you, it's like, right in front of like thousands of fans doing the truck parade. It's like, oh no.
Oh yeah. I was like, I couldn't believe they kept going with the parade, but hey,
show goes on. So
unfortunately.
So is there anything that you'd like to say to the fans out there that have supported you, even when you were a crew chiefing for your brother and your dad, and what would you like to say to those people?
Oh, absolutely. I appreciate every cent they ever spent on coming to the shows and watching us just go out there and have fun. It's pretty cool to do something as rewarding as that. When somebody is coming to watch you and pay attention to you, it's very rewarding, very grateful feeling. I just wanted to win every time and do the best. Like, I wanted to show them something they've never seen before, make them want to come back for more. And then I felt like I achieved that a few times, and it's very rewarding. So I loved everyone out there, man. We had a good time.
Dalton, any last questions?
No. I've seen Jared only once, which was Providence in 2016. Did a very good job there. I would have gone to Providence in 2018, but unfortunately I couldn't make it to that one. But Jared, you did a very good job driving Max Z. You did a good job filling in for Mike Harper. Hopefully, once when this madness ends and everybody gets back to doing their regular thing, you will be inside of a seat sometime soon. I'd love to see the Eichelberger brothers actually go at it one of these days. Jared versus Colton. Let's see who the true Eichelberger brother is on the track, because that's one thing we've yet to see. We haven't seen that yet, so I'd love to see that happen sometime soon.
That'd be a good time, man. I can't wait. I appreciate you.
I feel like Big Brother would come out on top on that one. You show little brother what the deal is.
I'll tell you what, man. Anything but driving. Colton's a way better driver than I am. I'll just be the first to admit it. But I'm way more competitive than he is. So I think, I might have to cheat to win. You don't know, but I might win. I'm willing to cheat. Is big.
well, okay. How about this? You versus your brother versus Tom.
I was just about to say
that would be a riot, I think.
Mm-hmm. We'd have to show that old man what's up.
There'd be carnage, definitely. But Jared, thank you for coming on the show tonight, man. It was a blast talking to you. We'll have to definitely have you on again when Cheech is around as well. And thank you to Dalton for coming to co-host with me tonight. Kind of last minute deal. Just again want to give thanks to the people that support our podcast and what we do, and go check out everybody that does stuff for us. Joey Sylvester and High Octane Coffee, awesome stuff. He's got the Bad Habit truck again and doing some stuff with the 4-wheel and off-road Jamborees. J Concepts, if you're into RC stuff, especially RC monster truck stuff, they're doing a lot of stuff. They're also Fred with J Concepts is restoring the legendary Bigfoot 4. Go check that out. One of the best monster trucks of all time. Nick Davis with Back Channel Productions. I see your comment, Mike. I'm not even going to mention that, the whole eggnog thing. I'll be drinking that soon. Yeah. I have to drink a gallon of eggnog because the Edmonton Oilers lost against the Chicago Blackhawks. That's the reason why. And I'm still upset about that. So, Nick Davis of Back Channel Productions. Go check out the videos that he's been doing. Put up some videos from the All-Star Monster Truck Tour. We got 6B Apparel, Chris Bozen. Awesome quality stuff. Some of the best, softest shirts I've ever had in the business. Marty Garza in his book, Monster Truck Technology. I haven't had a chance to read it, but hopefully soon I'll be able to get a copy of my own and read it. Hopefully you guys are able to get a copy of that yourselves and check it out. It's supposed to be a really good read. And then JB Scale Graphics, licensed for Bigfoot, Bad Habit, Overkill Evolution, Against the Grain. Again, guys, thank you so much for coming on. Next Tuesday is Mark Bendler of Kodiak. And then next Thursday is Brian Loans, the announcer for Editor and Fox, amongst other things. We're going to have him on. Any last words, guys?
I'm ready for more. I'm ready to keep doing this. I can't wait to talk to Brian of the NHRA because that's our little thing we got going on, Brad, and I just can't wait for it.
Any last words, Jared?
No, I appreciate you guys having me on. I look forward to talking to you again, and I'll definitely be in a seat again driving. Just that way.
All right, guys. Well, this has been Crush This Live with Jared Eichelberger. Thank you to Dalton James Hastings for coming on being my co-host. If you're in the Pennsylvania area, go check out Cheech. I'm not sure the exact city he's in, but he's there with Kurt Kramer. They're doing some car crushes and stuff like that. So go say hi to him if you're in the area. All right, guys. Take care. And as we always say with Crush This, keep the rubber side down and the shiny side up, everybody. Peace.